Say shalom if it's live. Okay, it's live. I didn't see a time. I didn't see a time on the video. Praise Almighty. Pretty much no clouds, but still kind of chilly. Little breeze. Shalom. Shalom. Oh, man. Oh, no. You think this is pretty appropriate? Having a polo style with the hoodie underneath? Probably not the best choice, but they moved the goalposts, so now we got a lot more people playing their little frisbee golf right where I teach them. And in the back, I think they change the course every couple of weeks. So, how much time we got? 3 more minutes. Praise the Almighty. In the meantime, praise the Almighty. I just realized their false Easter was on the 9th, which means I have to take the 10th off, and then we take the 11th off for the Sabbath. So I get a 3-day paycheck next week, or the week after. 3-day work week, because these sinners and their union holidays. But let me give glory to the Most High. Bless His holy name. Thank the Almighty for work. There's a lot of people not working right now. Our union altogether is slow. So thank the Almighty that He gave me grace, allowed me to work and provide for things of the Most High, for the fams, brothers and sisters. Thank the Almighty for my health. Feeling pretty good. Everything's pretty good. There's a couple of injuries, but definitely thank the Almighty. Thank the Almighty for the brothers and sisters. You know, really pressing the line. There's a lot of stuff going on in this world, and there's people still trying to live holy, trying to go out there. Definitely pray for the people that's trying to make it into the kingdom, whatever state they are, whatever the country they are. There's people out there that's honestly and genuinely trying to seek the truth, and there's so many false doctrines and false ministers, and they do things for publicity rather than for edification. Speaking of that, even looking at some of the videos, every once in a while I see what people's doing out there, and then you see some of these camps, and it almost seems like when they're on the street, they're doing it to get more views, for publicity, or for fame, if you will, than the actual edification. Because you do want more views. The more traffic you come, the more people that will come to salvation. But it seems like any argument or whatnot that people have, that will be the title. Like the title, say if you're preaching on living holy or keeping the Sabbath, you go street preaching for keeping the Sabbath, and then in the midst of that, some possessed person or some person that fights the truth is argumentative and fighting, then your title will be like, these people trying to fight me over the truth. And then you'll thumbnail the guy trying to fight. So now you're putting emphasis on the person trying to fight for views versus the message you're teaching onto edification, to the salvation of the soul. And so the more I, every once in a while, jump into the YouTube realm and check out what some camps are doing or what some people out there are doing. And then, like Apostle Paul said, they added nothing to me. I definitely thank the Almighty that at least my part of the puzzle is to preach against sin and coming out of Babylon. You know, I don't go and approach people dealing with who's a Hebrew, who's not a Hebrew, and dealing with people with the identity crisis, and who's the true Hebrews, and who's Esau, and the false Jesus, and the picture of Jose Bourgeois or whatever his name is. If I don't know, I'm not here to just crush other people in their method, because I'm just one piece of the puzzle. But I feel that when John the Baptist came, and when Mashiach came on the scene, and when the apostles came on the scene, they say, repent, for the kingdom of Almighty is at hand. John the Baptist came and said, hey, he that hath two coats, give to him that one. Hey, you soldiers, be content with your wages, and do violence to no man. And what do you do? And the lawyers came, what should we do? And only exact what you owe people. Don't be defrauding the people. And they always dealt with sin. When all the prophets came, Jeremiah, Ezekiel, they always dealt with sin. And you could argue the fact, yeah, but they knew they were Hebrews. The difference now is people don't know who's a Hebrew and who's not, and they don't know their identity. They don't know. What does that have to do with salvation? So you have a Hebrew that does not know that the book is speaking to him, and does not know that he's a Hebrew Israelite. But he repents, keeps the Sabbath, and lives holy, lives clean, keeps the commandments of the Most High, and he dies not knowing that he's really a Hebrew. Will that affect his salvation? Or you could have someone that knows his identity and knows the transatlantic slave trade came through, and through the transatlantic slave trade we got spread in from one after other, and we fulfilled Bible prophecy, and the book is talking to you, and the Gentiles came in through our disobedience, so Gentiles, non-Hebrews, could get in. But they still living in sin. How many people you know that go to say shalom and all that, still smoking weed, still listen to rap, still watching movies with cussing in it, saying sex is marriage, Old Testament only? I'm a Hebrew, but I'm Old Testament only. So is the identity of is you telling people who's a Hebrew, or your 12 tribe chart, or you're from this tribe or you're from that tribe? That's trivial on the grand scheme of salvation. That's trivial. I will put more emphasis on telling people what to repent from sin, and how to live holy and clean, and how to love your brothers in unfeigned love, and have true love, and learn how to love, and learn how to be vulnerable, and learn how to be your brother's keeper, because the greatest commandment is love thy neighbor as you love thyself. The second greatest commandment, and the second greatest commandment is that you need to know what tribe you're from, and teach them the true love of the Most High, then to push who's from what tribe, who is Esau. So like the apostles say, hey, they added nothing to me. I think they get people through their identity, which is cool. I mean, if people come to truth through that, I'm not here to crush what other people are doing, but at the same time, let us not miss sight on what's important. I haven't really seen too many services where they really go and they just deal with only sin, where they don't leave the 12 tribe chart at home, leave your idolatrous pictures that you shouldn't even have in your possession, which you in sin for having. Leave that. You should burn it and not even have it in your car, not take it back home. You shouldn't have it anyways, because that's a graven image. Leave that stuff at home and just preach the gospel. Preach truth. That's it. Oh, did you know you're a Hebrew, bro? Or did you know? No, just preach. Hey, bro, you dead in your sins. Just preach that. So, how much time we got left before we get into it? Praise Almighty. It's going to be a short service today, because we got 8 days of service coming up, and I have not dealt with the news. So, welcome all the people new to True Hebrews United of the Almighty Yeshua. I am thinking about changing the name to True Hebrews United. I've been thinking about that. It'll make it easier to find, but that'll be something we vote on or whatnot. We'll see what's up. Or the Almighty Yeshua. I kind of don't really like using the word Lord as much, even though Lord is the title, and people get confused. Oh, Lord is not his name. It's just a title, buddy. Calm down. So, it's been on my mind. I'll probably vote on that. We'll see what's up. Praise the Almighty. I think it'll be easier for our shirts to put THU when we start getting shirts made and getting our Bible covers embroidered and stuff like that. Just put THU or True Hebrews United. So, praise Almighty. Let the Almighty's will be done with that. I got to find out once we get our website if that name's already took. Then we'll just keep with the same name so we can have our domain the exact same. But Praise the Almighty. Welcome to True Hebrews United, the Almighty Yeshua. This should be loved, hopefully, by many, but more likely by few. Teacher Simon, the holiness instructed discipleship drill sergeant, about to get into the book as usual. Definitely give honor, and all praise and glory to the creator of all things, the author and finisher of our faith, who predestinated us to salvation to live holy and without blame before his presence. Yah, through his son Yeshua Mashiach, the only begotten of the Father. Definitely double honor to the apostles, the prophets, the evangelists, the teachers, the elders, the bishops, the deacons across the whole earth, teaching and persuading people to repent from their sins before it's everlasting too late. Definitely all the brothers and sisters keeping the Almighty's commandments, statutes, judgments, precepts, and ways. I love you guys. I want you guys to make it into the kingdom. Keep standing and keep pressing. All the people on Facebook and the YouTube and soon to be Bumble and Patreon and all other social media platforms, we're going to go hard pretty soon, Lord willing. I love you guys and I want you guys to make it. If you do not have a congregation, you should be looking for a congregation. If you need to fast once a week and say, Almighty, show me where I need you wrote me to plant myself. I need to be accountable. I need a watchman for my soul. It says, obey them that have rule over you, for they watch for your soul. Hey, I need a watchman. If you do not have a watchman, then you need to find a watchman. You need to find a place where the Almighty wants to use you. And you should be praying on that, and you should be fasting on that. If you're not praying on that, and if you're not willing to fast on that, then you're not really trying to be saved. You're not going to be saved outside of a body of Hamashiach. This is just not going to happen. You will not find in this Bible where that happened. How can they believe on whom they have not heard, and how can they hear without a preacher, and how can he preach except he be sent? And it says, beautiful are the feet that brings good tidings. And he's referring to people that preach the gospel of peace. So, you can reach us at 619-501-1375. That is our WhatsApp. That is our messenger. And that is our stateside number. Feel free to call 619-501-1375 if you have questions or whatnot. We do Zoom calls every Sabbath night. We do Zoom calls to where you can meet the brothers and sisters, talk, we laugh, we joke. It's not really a Bible study. A lot of times we get into the Bible. Sometimes we get into the Bible more the whole time. Sometimes not. Sometimes we just talk about the news. Sometimes we talk about dealing with situations. Feel free if you want to get into a Zoom call with us. It's like 30, 40 minutes long. And praise the Almighty. So, we got Passover coming up. Praise the Almighty. Definitely thank the Almighty. Made it to another year. He's given us another year. How have you grown? What have you matured in love, long-suffering, temperance, charity, hospitality. There we go. How have you grown this last year that just passed? So, with all that said being done, we're going to deal with the Passover right now. How to keep the Passover. That's what it is. Passover preparation. That will be the service. Passover preparation. With all that said being done, let's let the fingers do the walking and the scriptures do the talking. Praise the Almighty. Give me Leviticus 23. And we're going to start at verse 1. Leviticus 23, verse 1. Let's get it. And the Almighty spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them concerning the feast of the Almighty, which ye should proclaim as to be holy convocations, meaning a holy assembly. Even these are my feast. 6 days shall work be done, but the 7th day is the Sabbath of rest. A holy convocation shall no work be done therein. It is the Sabbath of the Almighty in all your dwellings, no matter where you dwell at, right? These are the feasts of the Almighty, even holy convocations, which you should proclaim in their seasons. On the 14th day of the first month at evening is the Almighty's Passover, which is coming up. This third at sunset to the fourth at sunset. And on the 15th day of the same month is the Feast of Unleavened Bread. They're two separate feasts, but they're back to back. They're still two separate feasts. Unto the Almighty, 7 days you must eat unleavened bread. In the first day you shall have a holy convocation. You shall do no silver work therein, but it shall offer an offering made by fire unto the Almighty 7 days. And the 7th day is a holy convocation. You shall do no silver work there is. So, yeah, we'll go through there. So, we see that we have the feast coming up, 7 days. The first day is a Sabbath, So that will be at the 4th of sunset to the 5th of sunset. And the last day is a Sabbath, so that will be at the 10th at sunset to the 11th at sunset. So you need to take those days off if you haven't already. Request those days off. Also, that is a high Sabbath. So if you can, make sure you prepare a nice little meal prior to the Sabbath of that hitting. Someone asked a question, can you cook on the Sabbath? Yes, you could cook for a high Sabbath. Meaning, on a normal Sabbath, it says there is no baking. Bake what you need to bake and seethe what you need to seethe, that there'll be no cooking. There is no cooking on the Sabbath. But you have a double Sabbath. Sometimes you'll have a Sabbath, and right after that is another Sabbath. It's called a double Sabbath. And it happens probably like twice a year or once a year. Usually it happens like once a year. So, it's a feast day, so you have to eat unto the Most High. And they did bring their lamb and their goats to the temple, and they cooked it, and they ate before the Most High. So, yes, there's a difference between cooking for your family on the high Sabbath and cooking for the brothers and sisters to eat before the Almighty. There's a difference. So, if you put a Pop-Tart in your toaster on the Sabbath or on a high Sabbath, you're wrong. Because that's not, oh, no, I just wanted a little snack. No. When they came together and they had a double Sabbath, or you have a Sabbath, most Sabbaths, that's just one day, you cook before. So there's no way. But the double Sabbaths, then you have to, for you to keep the feast, you have to cook on one of those days when the assembly comes together. Not, oh, I'm just making some top ramen because I'm hungry. No. It's a high Sabbath. There's no cooking on that day. The brothers or sisters are coming together. They're meeting at this location. We are cooking for the feast because it's a feast day onto the Almighty. There's a difference. Let's keep going. Any comments? All right, no comments. How you doing? Shalom. So, give me Exodus chapter 13. Start at verse 1. Exodus chapter 13, verse 1. Let's get it. And the Almighty spake unto Moses, sanctify unto me all the firstborn whatsoever open the womb among the children of Israel, both man and beast in it. And Moses said unto the people, remember this day which you came out of Egypt, out of the house of bondage, for by strength of hand the Almighty brought you out from the place where there shall no leavened bread be eaten. This day came you out in the month of Abib. I was talking to a sister. We'll get into that testimony too. And it shall be when the Almighty shall bring thee into the land of the Canaanites, and the land of the Hittites, and the Amorites, and Hivites, and the Jebusites, which he sware unto your fathers to give thee, the land flowing with milk and honey, that thou shalt keep the service in this month. 7 days thou shalt eat unleavened bread, and the 7th day ye shall be a feast unto the Almighty. Unleavened bread shall be eaten 7 days. There shall no leavened bread be seen in thee, neither there shall be leaven seen in all of thy quarters, so where you dwell at. And thou shalt shew thy son this day, and thou shalt this is done of that which the Almighty did unto me when I came forth out of Egypt. And it shall be for a sign upon thy hand, and for a memorial between thy eyes, that the Almighty's laws may be in thy mouth. For with a strong hand hath the Almighty brought thee out of Egypt. Thou shalt therefore keep this ordinance in its season from year to year. So, a sister called. I'm not going to put her on blast. I'll just use a random name. Sister Tria. So, a sister called, and a person in prison, I guess, repented, and he's trying to keep the feast days, and he's getting information to keep the feast days, and he's having other of his fellow believers, I don't know if they're saved or not, they're going to be cleaning out their cells and keeping the Passover and Feast of Unleavened Bread in prison. And so that was a major blessing. That gives some encouragement, that there's people out there. And I asked the person too, I didn't ask too many questions. I'll say Sister Tria. So I asked her, can they get visits? Because there's a scripture that it says, hey, when I was hungry, you gave me something to eat, and when I was thirsty, you gave me something to drink, and when I was sick, you came and visited me, and when I was in prison, you came and visited me. So, if that brother is really living holy, I don't know if he's baptized or has a congregation or whatnot, but if that person is really trying to press the line for the Almighty, then, hey, the scripture says, hey, when I was in prison, you came and visited me. I'm not saying you got to, go every week or something like that, but, hey, that scripture's in there for a reason. And if you have the opportunity to obey these scriptures, you take that opportunity. You don't let that opportunity pass by, right? So, praise the Almighty, it shows that, when someone will not adhere to the gospel, there's always someone that say, I'll do it, send me. When there's going to be thousands of people that says, I won't do it, or a whole bunch of people that say, I believe, and they won't do it, but there will be people that say, I'll do it. For every 20 people that drop a standard, or 100 or 10,000 people that drop a standard, there'll be that one person say, Almighty, I'll pick that standard up. What he dropped down, I'll pick up. I'll take that shift. And so there's going to be no excuse when these people go to the lake of fire. There's going to be no excuse. I remember one of them, it made me upset because I was dealing with a couple of people, and all of them did not want to have some lame excuse why they didn't want to build their tabernacle. Oh, it's because of this, it's because of rain, it's because of this, it's because of that. And there's people out there pressing the line saying, I'll build the tabernacle unto the Most High. I'll keep your commandments. And these same people that want to drop a standard expect to get the same reward of people that held the standard. You want to get the same reward, which is eternal life and salvation, by dropping standards and finding excuses to justify a lack of faith as the person that kept the standard. And I still want eternal life. I still want the same reward as this person. And it's not going to happen. The Almighty is a righteous judge. Yeah, it's going to be a testimony against a lot of people. So, praise the Almighty. Let's get into Exodus chapter 12, verse 1. Exodus chapter 12, verse 1. And the Almighty spake unto Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, saying, This month shall be unto you the beginning of month. It shall be the first month of the year. So it was the month of the Abib, or the month of Nisan, or whatnot, however you want to call it. The Almighty gave us our time. When he said this is the first month, stuff grows. Like, as you can see, stuff is growing. It's springtime. I don't know if you've seen this before, when it's all dry or when it's cold and nothing grows, during the winter. But stuff grows. It's not no January 1st. Our beginning of the year starts March 21st. First month of Abib. Count 14 days to get us to the Passover. That'll get us to the 3rd. So the 3rd to the 4th is the Passover. The 4th to the 5th is the Feast of Unleavened Bread. So, he says to you guys. Now, if they were keeping the same Egyptian time, then why would he tell them, hey, this is the beginning of the month? No, he says, see, today, this is the first day of the year to you. This is my time that I'm giving to you. So we don't go off a Gregorian calendar. We don't go off of January 1st is the beginning of the year. That's the center time. We go off the Almighty's time. Spring is the beginning of the year, when stuff grows. Not when there's no leaves on the trees in the dead of winter. No. Yeah, it's the beginning of the year. Can't you see? There's no leaves. There's no new growth. Nothing's growing. It's just winter time. I know people in believe like it grows all year long. I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, but to other places that has all 4 seasons, no. So, let's keep going, right? Exodus chapter 12, verse 3. Speak ye unto the congregation of Israel, saying, in the 10th day in the month shall you take them every man a lamb according to the house of their fathers, a lamb for a house. And if the household be too small for the lamb, let him and his neighbor next unto his house take according to the number of his soul. Every man according to the eating shall you make account for the lamb. Your lamb should be without blemish. A male the first year you should take out from the sheep and from the goats. And we'll deal with this Passover and being a sacrifice these coming feast days, right? And you shall keep it unto the 14th day of the same month. The whole assembly of the congregation of Israel shall keep it unto even. And there shall you take the blood and strike it upon the 2 posts in the upper door posts of the house, wherefore you shall eat. And they shall eat the flesh in that night, and roast with fire and unleavened bread and bitter herbs. Now shall you eat of it. Eat it not raw, nor sudden at all with water, but you shall roast with fire this head with his legs, and with the person and stuff thereof. And don't forget, we'll stop right there. You got to get some bitter herbs, some barley or whatnot, when you make your unleavened bread. I should have added that today's service. I was just dealing with preparation, but I'll teach on the Passover and how to do the Passover, I guess, on the Passover. Right? I'm kind of late. I probably should have made it a regular service today and not dealt with the news. I forgot this part. I apologize. How we're going to do our unleavened bread. So, praise the Almighty. Maybe Sister Whitney could deal with the unleavened bread. And no, that is not teaching no gospel. She's just teaching about how to make unleavened bread. All right? So I don't want, women can't teach. She's not teaching the word of the Almighty and expounding what the scriptures mean. She's teaching you how to make unleavened bread. Let's keep going. And they shall take of the blood and strike it upon the two posts and the upper door posts of the house, wherefore you shall eat it. And they shall eat the flesh at night, roast with fire with unleavened bread, and with bitter herbs shall you eat it. Eat it not raw, nor set it nor at all with water, but roast with fire his head with his legs and the puteness thereof. Verse 10. And you shall let nothing of it remain until the morning. That which remaineth until the morning shall you burn with fire. And thus shall you eat it with your loins girded and your shoes on your feet and your staff in your hand. You shall eat it in haste. It is the Almighty's Passover. Yeah, they had to eat in haste because they about to dip out that same night. But praise the Almighty. Let's keep going. For it will come to pass through the land of Egypt that night I will smite the firstborn of the land of Egypt, both man and beast, against the gods of Egypt, and I will execute judgment. I am the Almighty. And the blood shall be unto you for a token upon the houses wherefore you are. And when I shall see the blood, I will pass over, and the plague shall not be upon to destroy you when I smite the land. So it had to be upon their houses. The blood. Now, it says you are the temple of the Most High, and are you covered with the blood of the Lamb? Because he's going to bring his destruction too. And them that don't have his seal and has his blood and keeping his Passover, hey, when he brings his destruction, hey, you won't get a Passover. You'll get destroyed with everyone else. Let's keep going. And the blood shall be unto you for a token upon your houses where you are. When you shall see the blood, I will pass over you, and the plague shall not be upon you to destroy you when I smite the land of Egypt. Like in Revelation, when he bring those locusts, and he bring those diseases and plagues that only take people that don't have his mark. Same thing. And this day shall be unto you for a memorial, and you shall keep the feast unto the Almighty throughout your generations. You shall keep the feast by ordinance forever. Like Sandlot. Let's keep going. 7 days shall you eat unleavened bread. Even the first day you shall put away leaven out of your houses. You shall eat unleavened bread from the first day unto the 7th day. That soul shall be cut off from Israel. He's not playing with that stuff. You got to keep the memorial right. It's kind of like the people that keep the Sabbath, but they play video games, or they say they don't go to work, but they mow on their lawn. No, you can't halfway keep it. You can't say, oh, I'm keeping the Passover, but then I'm eating unleavened bread. Let's keep going. First, whoever shall eat unleavened bread from to the 7th day, that soul shall be cut off. And cut off means taken away, meaning killed. Let's keep going. And the first day shall be a holy convocation. The 7th day shall be a holy convocation to you. No manner of work shall be done in it, save that which every man must eat. That only may be done unto you. Let's keep going. In the verse 17, and you shall observe the feast of unleavened bread, for in the same self day I brought your armies out of the land of Egypt. Therefore you shall observe this day in your generations by an ordinance forever. Let's keep going. And in the month of the 14th day of the month ye shall eat unleavened bread until the 21st day of the month at evening. 7 days shall be no leaven found in your houses. For whosoever eateth that which is leavened, eateth that soul shall be cut off from your congregation. Whether a stranger or born in the land, you shall eat nothing leavened. In all your habitations shall you eat unleavened bread. Right? Eat unleavened bread. Praise the Almighty. So, you need to get that leaven out of your house. But, let's go with some definitions real quick. So what's unleavened bread? What's leaven? What's leavening? Let's see what's up. So I looked up leaven. One part definition was said cruel, but remember the leaven also was symbolic for sin. I'll teach this Passover and whatnot. But when you look up the lexicon dictionary, part of the Strong's Concordance, it's have life or be alive. Have life or be alive. Yeast is a bacteria, right, or a fungus. think it's yeast is a fungus. Yeah, yeast is a fungus that makes things rise. Yeah, yeast is a fungus because they got baker's yeast and whatnot. So, yeah, I think it's a fungus. Fungus or bacteria? Yeah, it's a fungus. My bad if I'm confused. But, because I did some distilling. You know, I made my own moonshine before. I'm not saying that's what I do, but I work with baker's yeast. So, kind of forgot. But, nonetheless, so it says to be alive. So you put live yeast into your bread, and it causes oxygen or hydrogen to come in, and it causes foam. And I'll deal with that in a little bit. So leavened, a yeast, if you look that up, is yeast or a leavening agent or a rising agent or a foaming agent. Baking soda, baking powder, yeast, baker's yeast, whatever, right? Yeast. You can make yeast. It comes in flour. I think Whitney put a video on how to make your own yeast. And then you take that and then you put it in your bread to make your bread rise. So, leavening agent. Instead of me writing all this down, leavening agent. Already had it screenshot. Bear with me. There we go. In cooking, leavening agent or raising agent is also called leaven or leavener. It is one of the number of substances used in dough and batters that causes foaming action, gas bubbles, that lightens or softens the mixture. An alternative supplement to leavening agent in the mechanical action by which air is incorporated. Leavening agents can be a biological or synthetical chemical compound. The gas product is also is often carbon dioxide or occasionally hydrogen. When the dough or batter is mixed, the starch in the flour and the water in the dough form a matrix, often supported by proteins like gluten and polysaccharides such as something axanthin and gum. The starch then gelatinizes and sets, leaving gas bubbles that remain, which causes the bread to rise, right? So, we need to get food that has baking soda or yeast out. Now, you could argue the fact, which I wouldn't do because I want to take the chance, that since leavening or leaven means to be alive or to have life, is dealing with strictly yeast. And some people believe that, but I wouldn't take the chance with that. So get the baking soda and yeast and baking powder. Any food ingredients that has that, or it says leavening agent in it, it will actually say leavening agent on the nutrition, the ingredients in the back. Go ahead and get it out of your house. So, your refrigerator. Look at all the stuff in your refrigerator, and you'll be surprised what stuff has leavening in it that you wouldn't think. So, double check some of the ingredients. Clean out your refrigerator. Move your refrigerator out of the way. Sweep and clean out of the bottom underneath the refrigerator. Your microwave, under the microwave, behind the microwave, your toaster. Hit the toaster out. Get that stuff out of there. All your pantries. Get everything out that has leavening. You got to do it for 8 days and get it all out. Now, it says in all your dwellings, oh, your carpet. Make sure you clean your carpet, and then make sure you clean out your car. Take your car to go get clean. You probably haven't cleaned it in a while. And go vacuum out if you've been eating Cheetos and burgers and stuff, whatnot, and crumbs and all that stuff. Clean out your ride. Get all the leavening out. All your dwellings, all the place you're going to be. Now, to store your stuff, typically what we do a week ahead of time, we just start eating all the stuff with leaven, and we bring little of it in the house, so it's less we have to get rid of. So start eating it all prior to. Don't buy anything on your next grocery list. But if you have a shed, or you have a unused vehicle, a broke down vehicle, and you want to put all your leaven and food products in there for a week, that it says in all your, so you can't go in that car and just coming in and out. You don't do that. You know what I'm saying? Put it in the shed, lock the shed. We don't go in that shed for 8 days. Put it in an isolated area that you will not dwell and you will not habitate. It says in all your habitation. It's not something, you can't put it in your shed, but you go in the shed every day to get the weed whacker and all this stuff, and there's none of that. It's away from you. You do not see it. You don't go by it. Leave that stuff alone. Get rid of that stuff. There's going to be some stuff you got to throw away. That's just the cost of serving the Almighty. Some of your stuff you're just going to throw away if you don't have a place. Do not give it to a relative to hold on to it for 8 days. It says, be not partaker in another man's sin. You can't have them sin for you, because technically they supposed to be keeping the Passover too, and not and keeping the more of the Most High, and not having leaven in their stuff as well. So put it in the place. You should been eating, getting rid of all those stuff with leaven in it probably a week ahead of time, so there's less you have to throw away, and there's less you have to store. You know, you might put it in the car and it's hot where you're at, and then it might be bad by the time the 8 days are over. I don't know. Put it in the trunk of a car you don't use. Don't put it in your truck that you drive into, that you habitate, that you dwell in. No. It needs to be in a place far away from you that you will not go to. All right? So, praise the Almighty. We're going to get into some news. You guys got any questions on that? So, I'll wait for your questions. Give it a little bit. Any questions, any comments? All right, no? So then let's move on. Praise the Almighty. Let's get it. As you know, the whole thing with East Palestine, how that fish were dying and the contamination with there. Then we have Philadelphia train, and they couldn't drink. They had to import their drinking water because their drinking water was contaminated. And they said, oh, it's safe to drink for a week, and they kept changing it, and I wouldn't believe them. Then you got the one in Minnesota, a town in Minnesota, where they had to evacuate. So we obviously see, I mean, this could be twofold. One, there was a huge protest with the train track unions on pay and pension and stuff, and they were going to shut the whole country down. So there was a huge problem that Biden had to come in and do something right now, but that was going to be problematic because it's going to shut the country down if they really went on strike. But it's kind of odd how all this stuff starts happening. Wine has yeast. Oh yeah, that was my trick question. What yeast can you actually drink? Can you actually have on the Passover? And the trick question was yeast. So technically, wine does have yeast, because yeast, the bacteria, I believe it's a bacteria. Right? The bacteria and yeast are, the yeast itself is the bacteria or the fungus, right? Let me just state the facts here. Let me get this real quick. I won't really be on my phone, but I'm going to be mixing it up. Yeah, it's a fungus. Yeah, I was correct the first time. So what happens is you have yeast. It's a fungus, and it's in the air. There's fungus in the air, and so you have yeast, right? Yeast eats the flour or the sugar, and the byproduct is alcohol, right? Or ethanol or alcohol, right? The byproduct is alcohol, right? That's the poop. Let's just say the poop, right? Of what yeast eats. But after the alcohol content gets so high, the yeast die off because it can't survive. Nor could you survive living in your own poop as well, right? Correct. So technically, yeast meaning or leavening, leaning to be alive or whatnot. The yeast in wine is dead. So there's yeast, but it's dead because it can't survive in a high alcohol content. That's why when you say I want to make some whiskey or want to make something, so I get some oats, I get some sugar and some corn. I think corn is for whiskey or something. Say I just get pineapples, whatever. Anything with sugar in it. Oats, flour, sugar. You put that in some water, and then you put yeast in there, baker's yeast or whatnot, because it could survive at a higher alcohol content. And you let it sit for 3 days, and it's going to kind of sit. And what happens is the yeast eating the sugar, and it's turning out of a 5-gallon bucket of water. I'm teaching some chemistry right now, and I've only done it one time, so I'm no expert distiller. Yeast breaks down the sugar, turns into ethanol, alcohol, and then so 10% of that 5-gallon bucket will be alcohol, and say 20% or something, the rest is just water, right? Because all the yeast is dead after 3 days, right? So then you boil the water, then you boil it till not boiling where the water content, but the alcohol, because the alcohol and the water has a different boiling point. So you get the temperature high enough to where the alcohol will turn into a vapor and condensate and turn back into alcohol, but the water never boils because you never raise the temperature under a certain boiling point for the water. So then you have pure moonshine, like the 90% alcohol, 95% alcohol, like straight Everclear type, you know what I'm saying, alcohol. But the yeast in that thing already died. So back to your main point, yes, wine does have yeast, which he allowed, but that yeast is dead. It can't survive in the alcohol content that high. So it's not alive anymore, if that makes sense. But yeah, the Almighty told us to drink wine with that. Now the unleavened bread is because they had to flee when you read that, and they couldn't put yeast in their dough. And that's the memorial. So it was more so the bread aspect and not the alcohol aspect or the wine aspect of when they had to leave in a rush. It's more so they had to just make some bread and they just dipped. And he did that as a memorial. So yes, you're correct. So back to the Minnesota. So we see that I think this one, it's a twofold attack, because one, it poisons the people, and two, it puts that riot or that protest to stop. Like, how can you ask for more money and you can't even keep your trains from falling off the tracks? You know, it just stops. It stops their push altogether. It's like if I'm an engineer or whatnot, and then something happens and a whole bunch of my engineer buildings just collapse, and I'm like, and you want to ask for more money, you can't even keep your buildings up. I think it was twofold. It's similar to Operation Destroy all the food distributing companies and food manufacturing companies. All of a sudden, you've seen all these burning down. This one burned down, and this one burned down, and this poultry, and this flour. And remember last year, or like every month, it was like 2 or 3 food distributor or production companies, manufacturer factories closing down. And then you don't hear nothing else. And then now here's the train tracks. And all of them, all of a sudden, all these happen to have straight hazardous materials. None of the ones that just don't have no hazardous materials fall off the tracks. Only the ones that have the hazardous materials fall off the tracks, right? Kind of coincidence. There is no coincidences. So we see how it is, how it's going down. This is all by design. This is all by design. This is why it says come out of her. Speaking of come out of her. So now I just found out something. Check this out, man. There's a bill. There's some people trying to pass a bill to where they have to label not only GMOs, but it's called gene therapy products. And what gene therapy products is not only is it GMOs, but it's like the hokey pokeys, where it could mess with your DNA, right? It's a probability to mess with your DNA, right? Now they're putting this, or they have been putting this in certain foods. So they're trying to pass this into legislations like you need to label where it says gene therapy product on your food. And the lobbyist is trying to shut it down. They're trying to shut this down because kind of like people got the hokey pokeys in their shoulders and they're getting some stuff happen to their bodies, right? Try not to get flagged. So now they're trying to put it in the food, or they are putting it in the food. And the lobbyist says, no, we don't want to have to label it. So by them saying we don't want to have to label, that means they're already doing it. And so we don't know if it's going to get passed or not. But they are putting stuff in food that messes with your DNA. It's not just, oh, this is genetically modified, so this corn could be resistant to locusts or to aphids and to bugs that will kill my crops. No, it's going beyond that. It's going beyond that. So hopefully they're saying, hey, try to get it all in 50 states. Go to your congressman, try to get this, find out this. If you guys want to do your research, find out this bill. Hopefully this bill passes to where they have to label all foods they call gene therapy. Not just GMOs now, gene therapy. You know, and they said some of them have even shedding to where, you know, you're sick and your sickness could pass the other one. So you take some hokey pokeys in your shoulder, and then now you cough and whatnot, and you could pass what you got in the hokey pokeys to someone else that it didn't get the hokey pokeys, right? So might want to look into that. Speaking of that, let's go to Revelations 18. How much time we got? Revelations 18. Yeah, we got time. Revelations 18. It's sad to where you have to fight these people just to label what they're doing to the things you're consuming. And they don't want to. I don't want to have to tell you the poison I'm putting in your food. I shouldn't have to label what poison I'm putting in your food. That is not right. That's where it's going down. Well, that's how it's coming down. Let's keep going. Revelation 18. So dystopia, we knew this. The saints of the Most High, we know it was coming. It's coming a lot faster than I want it, but it's coming. It's like you get no breathing room. Right when this whole 19 garbage pandemic happened, then it's like you're like, all right, woo, I made it through that. Didn't get the hokey pokies. Whole world shut down. All right, let me get my bearings. Let me regroup and reorganize. The economy is about to collapse, and the U.S. dollar is collapsing, and this and that, and there might be little mass layoffs. And then it's like, you can't even get your footing yet. Can't even get your balance. Let's keep going. Revelation 18, we'll start at verse 1. And after these things, like, side note, I was speaking of the job when I came up to this bay. Since I've been up here, I only had 1, maybe 2 years that I actually came in full force. Other than that, the whole reason why I came up here with the whole situation from 19 to now just done messed everything up. All right, let's get it. And after these things, I saw another angel come down from heaven, having a great power, and the earth was lightened with his glory. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the great is fallen, has become a habitation of devils, and a hold of every foul spirit, in a cage of every unclean and hateful bird. Devils, look what they're all trans, all this choose your gender, all the LG, ABCD, all the alphabet groups, all this stuff. Yeah, it's going down, full of devils. Let's keep going, right? For all nations have drunken the wine of the wrath of her fornication. Not Uganda, because Uganda said, I'm not supporting your alphabet group. They actually banned that alphabet group. I'm pretty sure they're going to bring a hurricane or a famine. DARPA or HARP's going to come and cloud seed, and bring some earthquake or something and cause earthquakes or something to destroy. Yeah, watch. You see, watch. Look what happens because Uganda said, forget what you're talking about. I'm not going to go align with your one world or your control. Look what happens. Watch. Oh, Uganda got this huge earthquake, or there's a famine. Watch something. Watch. And I hope the best that it does not happen. But time and time again, people that don't do what the U.S. wants them to do, something happens. We'll see. So, right? Verse 3, for all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth were committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies, right? And another voice from heaven saying, come out of her, my people, that you be not partakers of her sins, that you receive not of her plagues, for her sins have reached unto heaven, and the Almighty have remembered her iniquities. So, it says, reward her even as she has rewarded you, and double unto her according to her works. In the cup she have filled, fill her double. But my main point in verse 4, it says that you be not partakers, it says, come out of her, my people, that you be not partaker of that, and receive not of her plagues. Now imagine if there's something someone could give you through some means of protection that changes your DNA. And now the Almighty doesn't recognize you as his creation. Now, imagine if they could put something in food that changes your DNA. And now, the Almighty doesn't recognize you as one of his creations. See, it is much more easier to just come out of Babylon than to say, oh, I'll just pray and the Almighty will just... Look at the stuff that they're doing in the States. There will be no escaping. You will be a partaker of this nation's sins and plagues if you stay here. in one way than another. And then this is what I get all the time. And I got something for these people that fight what I'm saying. Oh, that's not true. I'm going to go live off the grid. Go get me some land and live off the grid. I got something for you. Because what you say for you, you have to say all the people that are serving the Almighty will be able to do that. Because he's telling all the people to come out of Babylon, right? But so what works for you may not work for everyone. So you can't use that solution and apply that for everyone. So now, I looked up, let's look up this real quick. Where we at? Cool. Right here. Okay, so there is 339.1 million people in the United States. So let's say if 1 out of every 10,000 people actually live holy and serve the Almighty, that brings you to 33, almost 34,000 people in the United States serve the Most High. And I think that's about right. I only think about 34,000 people actually live in holy. Oh, that's it. Yes, that's it. Christians do not count. You know what I'm saying? People, I'm talking about keeping the Sabbath, living holy, living righteous, keeping the commandments of the Most High. 30, and that's, even if you say, no, there's more than that, then that only proves my case even more. So, now you're saying 33,000 people have to go and buy some land, build a house, get solar, and grow all their food because this other food is GMO. So 100% off the grid, like 100% off the grid, right? Now it says 50% of middle class the middle class constituted 50% of the U.S. population, according to 2021. And it says it's lower than it's ever been, and it's lower now, right? Now, let's use middle class again. Why upper middle class earners are living paycheck to paycheck. So even if, let's say out of the 33,000 people, half of them are middle class, and even the upper middle class is living paycheck to paycheck. So if you're living paycheck to paycheck, how are you going to buy land and everything's more expensive in the States? You're going to do all this stuff in the States, which is far more expensive than going out of the country and doing it. You're going to do all this stuff, and you got to say all the believers are going to do that because we don't just want to come out of her that we be not a partaker of this nation's sins and plagues. And you'll fight. Not only that, then you got legislation saying, oh, you're not zoned to be a farmer. Oh, it's illegal to keep your own water. Oh, you can't farm your own meat. Like they attacked the FBI or whatnot, came and raided the Amish person, land, because he was just selling meat to his own Amish community. And they raided him and told him to stop. Oh, they're trying to make a law to where you have to vaccinate all your chickens. Oh, yeah, you forgot about that. So all the eggs and all the chickens you're eating at El Pollo Loco, that goes for me. All the chicken you're eating at the grocery store. I wonder what kind of vaccinations those chickens are going to get. So you're not going to eat chicken no more too, right? See, you see how tight it is getting for the people in Babylon, and yet they still want to stay here. And, I'll just do all this. You will have to jump through so much hoops. And the majority of brothers and sisters are in poverty, are in middle class, or lower middle class, and not even the upper middle class. For you just to stay in this land, you will have to jump through 20 more hoops to stay in this land than to just get your passport and have your dollar go further along, and you can get twice as much done or 3 times as much stuff done to be self-sufficient than to just stay here. Where you go to a country and people have 20 chickens. It's common for people to just have, I walk down the street and I see chickens all the time. People just have 10, 12 chickens. Grass-fed, non-vaccinated, non-GMO chickens that you can eat. And it's not poison. People just have cows and goats and sheep just chilling. You just walk down the street. That's just what they do. People have huge mango trees and avocado trees and just chilling. That's just what they do. None of this Monsanto and GMO and all this hokey pokey stuff in the chickens and all this stuff. So you want to jump through all these hoops just to stay in Babylon. And you're still going to be a partaker of this nation's sins and plagues because he told you to get out. He told you to get out. And I don't get it. So it's going to get to the point where once I shut the door on the U.S. and I turn full-time to Belize, and I change that geographical location on Facebook and YouTube all, instead of it's going to say the United States, it's going to be pointing to Belize, then it's a wrap. It's a wrap, because it's going to get so tight. Then I'm like, how are you getting your kids to schools without giving them hokey pokeys? How are your kids in school? Are you homeschooling? How are your kids in school without the hokey pokeys? Because they're going to start making stuff mandated to where now you're going to put your place where your kids aren't going to be recognized by the Most High's, His creation. And I don't know the judgment on that yet. I don't know how the Almighty deems that. If you change your DNA, if you alter your DNA, how He looks at you. Because I see where He says don't mix diverse kinds of animals, like a cow and an ox and whatnot, like a lion and a tiger. He said don't do it. That is an abomination. You're changing what I naturally created and you're making something else. And so if you do that to your body, I don't know how the Almighty's going to look at that. Am I going to say you can't be saved? I'm not going as far as saying that, but I know if it's pushed by this government, it can't be good, and it's probably not good for your salvation. So, not good for your body nor your salvation. So, praise the Almighty. Hopefully you guys take note. Let us watch and pray that these days don't catch us unaware. Oh, I got to do the shout-outs. I got to do the shout-outs real quick. Shout-outs. Karen, Gia, Katura, Prime, Koloa, Timeless, Ja Allen, Kovesh, Ahava, Kamari, Ariel, Nava, Kashev, Zohara, Jason, Zadek, Zohar, Zion, Claudius, Messias, and Johnny. I appreciate you guys. I want you guys to make it into the kingdom. So, with all that said being done, keep standing. Don't drop standards. Give the Almighty a hand clap. Shalom. And we do have service Tuesday, probably 1 o'clock Pacific time. Tuesday. Right? Yeah, I think it's Tuesday. Shalom.